stayed silent as the atrocities committed against my mom were downplayed. I stayed silent when it came out that my father, Herschel Walker, had all these random kids across the country, none of whom he raised. And you know my favorite issue to talk about is father absence. Surprise, because it affected me. That's why I talk about it all the time, because it affected me. Family values, people. He has 4 kids, 4 different women, wasn't in the house raising one of them. He was out having sex with other women. Do you care about family values? I was silent, lie after lie after lie. The abortion card drops yesterday. It's literally his handwriting in the card. They say they have receipts, whatever. He gets on Twitter. He lies about it. Okay, I'm done. Done. Everything has been a lie. And so for the right to say I'm being suspicious for saying, hey, I'm done with the lies, when you all have been calling me saying, is this true about your dad? Gosh, we're not going to win Georgia, this candidate, all that's been you. You have no idea what I've been through in my life. You have no idea what me and my mom have survived. We could have ended this on day 1. We haven't. I haven't told any stories. I'm just saying, don't lie. Don't lie on my mom. Don't lie on me. Don't lie on the lives you've destroyed and act like you're some moral family man. Y'all should care about that, conservatives. And then for people on the left to act as though I'm responsible for all of the things that he has done. I've talked about father absence. I've talked all these issues because they've been close to me. Because they matter to me, because I went through it. That's why I've talked about it. So when you say, well, talk about your dad, but I'm saying this behavior is atrocious. Don't come for me. You don't have to like my politics. You don't have to like me. You don't have to. I'm just saying I'm done with the lies. We were told at the beginning of this he was going to get ahead of his past, hold himself accountable, all of these different things, and that would have been fine. Go ahead. He didn't do any of that. Everything's been a lie. Everything's been downplayed. Everything's been cutting corners. The whole thing. And whose expense is that at? Me, my mom, as we're chased down by the media, we're terrorized, all these different things. People are questioning my authenticity. I'm done. Don't lie. Don't put this on me. This is a candidate issue, not a me issue. I wouldn't have spoken out if there weren't all these lies every day.
Coming from a galaxy near you, this is Brothers in Booze. And here are your hosts, Greg Washington and Doug Ziegler.
Yikes. Okay.
Well, welcome to Brothers in Booze, Doug. I mean, there's really nothing. It's almost like a mic drop. There's really nothing we could say about that.
But welcome to Brothers in Booze, folks.
There's a lot I could say about this fest beer from Maplewood. Did you give me this one?
I did not.
You know how this goes at this point. Still drinking through my 6 cases. But I guess this isn't one. It's a fest beer. We know what those look like. I got like 7,000 of them still left, Doug. So I'm gonna be drinking these through Halloween, but I like that. We talked about this before. But what do you have?
So when I was in Toronto for my anniversary, I picked this up from a brewery that we're all familiar with, Unibrow. They're Blanche Chambly, which is a Belgian wheat ale. I haven't had this in probably 15 or 20 years. Like I've had Fin du Monde and Maudite and all those, and I just haven't had this. I recall liking it, but it was so long ago. Look at that. I love the color in that fest beer. That's nice.
Sad.
Yeah, that's Zach. He's a Lego maniac. Yeah, he's not even showing up as a thing. You need to allow StreamYard to see your stuff, Zach. So
Zach, why is your PP sad? Or I guess he's not saying his. He's saying whatever. I don't figure that out.
Man, it's like though that's a kind of little like it looks a lot darker on camera than it actually is in person. So yeah, it's not quite that dark because it's a wheat. So
well, actually, the answer is yes, because have we started talking about sad PPs? Yes, we did. We were talking about Christian Walker, and he's a sad PP. Yeah. Anyway.
This is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just such a good light beer. Like it's not hot here at all. It's, it was 60 degrees around here, but I just had it in my fridge. I picked it up and I was like, oh man, I haven't had that in so long. So I just thought I'd have it on a show. A little 5%er to start. Nice low. Put in my delirium Noel glass. So cheers to you, sir.
Cheers. Cheers to Zach. Yeah, Zach. I'm glad you read our promos because then you obviously know what's going to happen here. But I just want to say this, Doug. I'm excited tonight that we're going to talk about. Let's talk about sex, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about you and me.
Yep.
Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that can be, Doug.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about sex for now to the people at home or in the crowd. It keeps you coming up anyhow. Don't be coy, avoid, or make void the topic, Doug, because that ain't gonna stop it, Doug. Now we talk about sex on the radio and video shows. Many will know anything goes, and I didn't sing it, even though I wanted to, because I can't sing it because we don't have that money. But I want to sing it, so we're going to talk about sex, Doug.
Mm-hmm. And not just about that, we're going to talk about the link of it with depression and how that's not really a conversation we have. So it's going to be interesting because this person's wrote a book about it. So it's going to be really good conversation.
Yeah. So without further ado, I mean,
yeah, you want me to?
Why wait, right?
Yeah.
I'm just passing it to you because
okay, all right.
Our guest has a name that needs to be.
Yeah. So our guest is obviously a writer, an author. They're also a speaker. They're a mental health advocate. They're a great Twitter follow, because they don't just talk about sex and depression. They talk about depression. They talk about sex separately. It's a very good and informative one. Spin it up one time. Okay. But so we're going to bring on our guest tonight. Her name is JoEllen Notte. And we're going to have some fun talking about all this and, some serious stuff. Welcome, JoEllen.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So welcome. First of all, we always ask, what do you have in the glass or what are you drinking?
Okay. So we talked about this a little bit. So I actually, we don't keep alcohol in my house. But I'm leaving on a trip to the Finger Lakes with my cousin tomorrow. And we were going to make fancy fall cocktails and whatever. And then we were like, fuck that. Nobody has the energy. So we went into the liquor store and just grabbed things that looked amusing, which is why I am right now drinking a Hard Rock Cafe hard seltzer that is mojito flavored.
Mojito.
So it might be awful, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Hey, great. Mojito is that's mint, right, Doug?
Yes, mint and rum
and lime.
Well, mint and lime, but I think the rum is the
rum is the booze.
Yeah, because that's like a Cuban drink, as I recall. So yeah.
Isn't it
how is it?
Derby drink? Yeah.
Yeah. So how is it, JoEllen? What do you think?
It is okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It'll do the job. It'll do the job.
Exactly. I feel like it's one of those things where you're like, this isn't doing anything, and then you have 4, and then
a slow creeper.
Yeah.
But 4 is really not that slow though.
I know. See, I don't think it's a slow creeper. I think it's a sneak up behind you and suddenly you're drunk. One.
Okay.
One of those kind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
We've all been there. It's hard rock. So,
all right, Doug.
Yeah. So, the reason that I wanted to see if we could have you on was because I followed you for a couple of years now, I believe. And one of the things that drew me to was I follow a few sex educators on Twitter because I find it informative and I like supporting folks that are doing that. And you kind of came in a periphery to me from Dr. Liz Powell.
Oh, yeah.
And she was talking about your book, The Monster Under the Bed, Sex and Depression and the Conversation We're Not Having, I think is the actual full title. And can you talk to us a bit about, how did you come to that title and what made you desire to actually write a book about it? Because you're right, it's not a conversation we're having.
So honestly, let's take it back.
Okay.
10 years ago, I launched a sex website where I was going to learn about sex and talk about sex. And I celebrated the launch of it by tweeting, "Let's talk about sex." And so I was rocking out to the song just there. But I also had a history of depression. that at that point I liked to believe was a history, and it was behind me and it was never coming back, and I was going to have this sexy career where I talked about orgasms and went to the porn awards and it was all fun all the time. And then depression came back, and I changed medication, and I realized I wasn't having orgasms, but I was a brand new sex blogger. So of course I wrote about it immediately, told everybody. And that was in the first couple months of my site. And it was the thing that let me know people who weren't my mom were reading, right? Like that's how I found out there was an audience, because people wrote in and said, I've experienced that. And, nobody's talking about it. And so I had a couple articles go that way. And I kind of said, you know what, I want to talk about this. I want to write something that lets these people know they're not alone. But also, I am a sex writer with a theater degree, right? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not, I'm not somebody who you think will write your mental health book. And so that sent me to do a bunch of research. I surveyed 1,100 people. I interviewed 200 people. And that all led to The Monster Under the Bed, which was supposed to be a book that basically said, yes, a lot of people have sexual side effects and a lot of people feel their doctors aren't listening to them. And this is the experience people are having. But the responses I got in the interviews actually steered it and turned it into kind of half that and half how to support someone you love when they're coping with depression. Because if you guys don't figure that out, you're going to dislike each other a lot, and then nobody's going to want to have sex anyway. Unless that's your thing. No judgment.
Yeah, no judgment. No judgment. We do not kink shame here either. So yeah. So that was kind of the impetus to get in, and I mean, you were talking about it in the wild west days of blogging when it first started, and I mean, I was a dad blogger for a while, and Greg did some of that stuff too, and yeah, I remember you had an idea and you immediately just threw it out into the universe.
Yeah.
And it doesn't kind of really work as well that way anymore because of how social media works. But
yeah,
how has that taken because this was a while ago? I think your first book was published, was it 2015?
No. So I started the research in 2014, but because I have the best timing in the world, my first book was published in March 2020.
Yeah, right at the beginning of COVID.
I put up a blog post announcing my book tour, and that night the NBA shut down and Tom Hanks had COVID. And I was like, well. So the next day I announced that I wasn't going on my book tour. Yeah. So that happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the book tour stinks, but the thing about COVID is everybody was home. So maybe that could have helped in that way to have some sales. Did you see any of that or no?
No, I don't. I do think this is terrible, but the thing that I think ultimately makes my books timely and helpful is that the circumstances of the last couple of years have left so many people depressed. So I think my issue right now is just letting those people know I have this book for you. It could help you. If it doesn't sound like your thing, great, but it's here. I think, like you mentioned, social media has changed so much. And I think a couple of years ago, I could have been on Twitter shouting up this book and that might have worked. But these days it's not quite that. So my publisher was incredible. And when we agreed to do the second book, they said, so here's what we're going to do. I had no publicity budget on the first book because it's a small company and I was a first time author. And this time they said, we're giving you a publicity budget with the stipulation that we split it between both books. So we can tell the world both books are out there. So I say the benefit of COVID is I get to treat that first book like a new release, like indefinitely.
Yeah. That's true. Greg?
Okay, so the first book is, I'm a little confused. Is this the first book?
That is the first one.
Okay, yes. Okay. So take us into that because, as you said, that was written fully before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so has anything, I unfortunately did not get to read this book, but is there anything that has changed pandemic-wise that you maybe want to go back and stuff in that book? Or
so much I would stuff in if I could fix it, if I could go back.
Or is it something that kind of aged well, meaning a lot of it still works? I'm proud. I bet you it's probably a mix, but I'm gonna let you explain.
honestly, I feel like in some ways, when you have a little kid and you buy them stuff that's a little big so they grow into it.
Yeah.
I feel like Monster shot big in terms of like having these conversations and mental health and all those things. And I feel like the world over the last 2 years has grown into like being ready for that.
Fit it. Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And I don't want to cover everybody's face, but I'm gonna cover all y'all faces. But this is the book, and where can we get this one to start?
You can get that one anywhere books are sold. I recommend bookshop.org because sales there benefit independent bookstores. Also, I'm currently running an Indiegogo campaign to fund the tour for my second book. But one of the perks you can get is my first book as well. So you can get it there too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Y'all just never gonna let us go. And
and already we have the 12-year-olds running the asylum over here. So
correct, right? I see it. I mean, anyway. All right. So I don't think Doug asked this yet, but it's just something on my mind. What is one or two things? I bet you there's a plethora of things that people don't understand about how depression affects your sex life. I think we look at a lot of these things in isolation as opposed to being connected. And many of these things are connected. And then we don't connect them, so then it's harder for us to understand the issue at hand. Or am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. I'm getting so excited about all the things that I can say that go with all that.
Okay.
Well, let it rip.
So
yeah.
The first big one I always said, the lie of sex and depression, was that, I would say to people, I'm writing this book about sex and depression. And they'd say, well, that's easy. Depressed people don't want to have sex. Which was not true between the people who want to have sex and the people whose medications and kind of made them want to have more sex, or the people who had more sex as like a coping mechanism, or it was the thing that made them feel better or whatever. So that was a big thing to take out of it. Another one that I come at really hard. Now I'm thinking about the phrasing, and I'm like, I can't say I come at it hard, but I do.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Don't mind those clowns and
let the children laugh. It's fine.
So one of the things that really kind of pushed this book along was a conversation I had on Twitter with this guy who was like, my wife is depressed and I want us to have sex. What can I do? And I tried to talk to him about how it's a depression issue and you can't solve it with sex. And he didn't want to hear it and left me being like, I'm going to draw a luxurious bath for her. And then I think that'll work. And I was so sad. So a lot of my book talks about how you can't, when it comes to depression, you can't solve sexual problems that are depression related with sex, right? You can't say, the answer is more sex, because no, the answer is addressing the depression. And that will help you get to the sex. The other, oh God, there's so many things. Another big one was that there is a distinct difference between loss of libido, like you just don't want to have sex at all, and depression makes everything feel really difficult. So we talk a lot about making conscious decisions. Is it, oh God, sex sounds foreign to me. I can't even think about that. Please don't touch me. Or is it, sex sounds nice, but I'm really comfortable right now and I'd have to take off my pants and I'd have to put them back on. Because like that second one, you can work with that. You can, find your way to something that doesn't seem overwhelming. But the first one is maybe one you should listen to, because especially when depression's on the scene, you don't want to force yourself to do things you don't want to do and subjugate your needs and all that.
Doug?
Yeah. There's a lot of questions you could go with that, right? Like we're just scratching the surface in all this bit. So with depression, everybody's depression is different because everybody is different, right? So do you talk in the book about, and again, I wanted to buy it and it's one of those things I just keep thinking and just forgetting to, but is it something where you had to figure out like, all right, what's the, maybe not the trigger for their depression, but what are the things that help them along? And like, you have to kind of maybe tailor make it so you can help them in some way. Like I'm a fixer. I'm a person, if something's wrong, I want to fix it. And I know things like that are not something I can just fucking fix.
Yeah.
So like, how do you recommend for someone like me, who's a fixer, to be able to help in that way? Because I want to help, I guess.
Right. So one of my big things is making conscious sexual decisions and keeping your partner in the loop on them. So not just saying like no sex ever, but not saying just do it because sex is good, right? And that process allows you to really see how you feel about sex on any given day. And you can talk about that with your partner. A problem, it came up a lot, people who were experiencing erectile dysfunction because of depression meds, they always found that their doctors they wanted to give them Viagra and Cialis and those things because that would solve the problem if the problem was you didn't have a hard penis. But if the problem was, your body wasn't functioning the way you wanted it to, that basically it didn't get at the root of anything, it just gave them an erection. And one of my interviewees talked about it. He said that he felt like his drug-induced erections were like, it's like walking through a city and there's big buildings and they're big and they're tall, but there's nothing in them at all and you're just not interested. And I thought that was interesting because it really is, it's a bigger question than just fixing that symptom. And if you play whack-a-mole with the symptoms, you're never going to get anywhere super helpful.
Yeah, she said whack-a-mole. All right.
Yes, I did.
So that leads us to Doug, unless you have a follow-up, but you'll obviously have time.
We'll have more follow-up. You go ahead.
So that leads us to the next book, which is this book out now or what's going on with it?
So we officially announced this morning that this book is available for pre-order. Truth be told, it's been on Amazon and all those things for a couple of weeks, but we're doing an Indiegogo campaign for pre-orders. It does not come out until March 3rd of next year. Yes.
Okay, but we could still get that. And you hopefully are going to give us a hot preview because this is kind of what you were just talking about, which is, and I wanted to ask, which is, this is a struggle for a lot of people, I feel. Maybe me, not so personally, but a lot of people, which is how much do you involve your partner and how much where's that line where you are depending on them too much for this, as opposed to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we're like, well, I don't want to put this on them, so I'm going to do this myself. But at the same time, you probably have you might have a partner. Doug's raising his hand, but I also know that Doug has a partner who wants to help too, and she's very attentive of Doug's needs. I've seen this. The short time I've been together with them, I've seen this. So then you have a partner that's willing, but you don't. Doug necessarily may not want. Doug wants her involved, but at some point, Doug's like, "No, I can handle this a little bit more on my own. I don't want to put this on you." It's how Doug, I believe, frames that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Right. So how do we get over that hump for people like Doug? And I said hump too, but y'all, come on.
So I joked on Twitter months ago that I have to get successful soon, career-wise, because I'm running out of unique ways to say, for the love of God, fucking talk to each other. Because I know it's scary and I know it's hard, but what I noticed when I was doing the video events for Monster, because it came out during a pandemic, so the events were all video, people would ask questions and they'd say, how do I get my partner to support me more? How do I tell my partner I hate this thing? How do I whatever? And I would start my answer with, well, when you talked about it, what did they say? And I'd get all these blank faces, all these people being like, so what? By talk, you mean? And so I had to take it down to a 101 level where it was say words to them out loud with your mouth and their ears.
Use your words.
And I know that's really hard. So actually, in both of my books, I talked about different ways to communicate it too. So I fell in love in early 2014, and I also fell into a depressive episode about 4 months later. And my partner had no frame of reference. And I am very prone to saying, well, I can't call him for help because he's busy. He's got that work thing and he's not going to want to do that. And then, and I'll make a whole story as to why no one can support me. And talking to him about was overwhelming. I didn't want to scare him away, whatever. What we started doing is I started sending him comic strips. I found 2 accounts that did great depression talking comic strips. One's called Robot Hugs, and the other one's called Hyperbole and a Half. And if I didn't have the words, or I was afraid he would be overwhelmed or whatever, I would send him a strip from them that like fit the moment for me. And so I'd say like, this is what's going on today. And sometimes he'd have to come back to me and ask like, what do you need in this moment? And other times he would say, okay, I get it. And so for me, it's about adopting ways to communicate that work for each individual group of people, because as much as I say just talk, what I really mean is just find some way to openly communicate it with each other. Because a lot of times we stay in our own heads, and I don't want to overwhelm my partner and take over while the partner's going, oh, I really need support, but I don't want to bother them. If we figure out the way to communicate it to each other, we can hopefully get a little closer to people getting what they need.
Communication is an issue in general with really any relationship, sexual or not. So you're going to have those barriers, but I'm pretty sure that depression puts another layer on it. I don't know if you want to just riff off on that a little bit, which is how depression complicates things really even more, and it's really hard. I'm not speaking for myself because I don't feel I've had some depressive, I believe, episodes or spans in my life, but it's not overall dominating or overall something that I have to deal with on a daily basis. How about that? But it does come up here and there, and we just have to bat it down. Would you like to speak to that a little bit, which is an extra layer of complication that depression puts on your life, which ultimately could lead to sexual dysfunction?
I think a thing people don't understand about depression, because it's a mental illness, so we think that that's all happening up here, but it's also physically exhausting, and it's also okay. So this whole week I was in a tremendous amount of hip and back pain, and I was also super stressed out about announcing the Indiegogo and the book and whatever this morning. I announced those things this morning, and like 80% of the pain was gone. I think it was psychosomatic. But we tend to think psychosomatic means fake, right? We think the things that are that come from our brains are all in our head, right? So mental illness kind of gets painted with that brush too. But they're totally real things that our brain is making happen and we can't always control. And I think that's starting from that like fundamental misunderstanding of what depression is and how it can affect us, we get on the wrong track. And then when you add in the fact that depression can be physically exhausting, the fact that depression can be mentally exhausting. I say it's like spending your whole day every day with somebody following you around wanting to have an argument about how much you suck. And like, if you try to get out of the argument, they just do that like really condescending, talking down to you thing. And it just goes on forever and you can't end it. Yeah. But there's no real way to say that to people. People don't have a frame of reference for that. I guess I just said it. Feel free to use that with your friends and loved ones, folks.
There we go.
That's a good one. I like that one. Like I had never heard it described that before, but that makes a lot of sense because everybody talks about like that sort of voice in your head that just doesn't go away and just keeps kind of pecking away at you. And it's just like, and I think to your point of like, when you talk about mental and physical exhaustion, I find personally like mental exhaustion is way more tiring than physical exhaustion is. If I'm mentally tired, I'm done. Like but if I'm physically tired, I can physically kind of push through that. But mentally tired is like a whole different level of tired. So I don't know. That's not that this matters to this conversation. I'm just saying I think that the mental exhaustion is way worse for me, at least.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I had to go run and get a beer. So a little bit of part of your intro, I missed, JoEllen. But I do have to ask. you part of reading your literature and figuring out your background before we had you this week, you explicitly say, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm just someone who came up and do a lot of research, talk to a lot of people,
a lot of experience.
life experience. But what would possess you to take on two of the subject matters that people don't like to communicate about at all is whether I'm depressed and why my penis ain't working. And it's two things that, like, I'm telling you, like, it really puts, one of those could really put someone in shock or depression, or, you know what I mean? Or not want to talk about that. You picked two. Yeah. And part of your right. So, and you're thriving, in my opinion, it appears, I don't know you personally, but it appears that you're thriving in it. And it appears that you really enjoy what you do. So talk to that, because I'm just fascinated in that aspect, because we all have communication issues, whether it's with our best friend, our kids, our streaming partner, Doug and I, right? Yeah, our partner, and all that. How did you? Yeah, like, yeah.
So truth be told, I didn't know what I was doing, and I jumped into this giant research-heavy book, and I'd never written a book, and it was about the two most taboo topics on earth, and it's like the intersection of two taboo topics. I already thought I wasn't qualified to do it, and I came up against a little pushback when I started with people who also wanted me to know I wasn't qualified to do it. I didn't know. I was talking to a friend who was applying for a grant today, and she was like, "How did you get funding when you researched Monster?" And I had to be like, "Oh, I didn't have any."
I was like, "There's funding?" Right?
I didn't have a publisher until the book was written. Basically, I broke my own brain, kind of. I don't recommend anybody do anything the way I did that. It was a horrible way to do it. And by 2020, I was in just an awful place. And, 2020 kind of came for us all. But between the book coming out and like nothing happening, and this fear that hit me that I was never going to see my family again because everything was shut down, and I was living in Oregon and they're in New Jersey. And I kind of went off the deep end, and then I did an interview with Dan Savage, and someone shared it on Facebook.
And, I saw that. Yep.
Dan has been very supportive of me in my book, and I really appreciate that. And it was on Facebook, and I never look at Facebook because it's bad for my brain. And my boyfriend said, "You have to, I know you hate it, just go on and see the nice things people are saying about the interview." And I go on, and right above the post is an ad for a depression treatment, of all things, like a non-drug depression treatment. And I looked it up, and I went and got it that summer, and it got me up enough that I could see that I needed to leave Oregon and move back to be near my family. And so the thriving part is all of the last year. It's all since I got out of that situation and got here and wrote this new book and all of that. Pretty so don't write a book the way I did it. Don't any of you do that.
As someone who has started writing 4 fiction books and finished 0 of them, I can empathize with the challenges of trying to write a book. It's not easy, especially when you're writing it with research, where it's like you got to go in and do deep dives and stuff. Like I just write shit off the top of my head, so I don't have to do research.
Yeah. Well, and people were so wonderfully supportive, but also I kept going to people and going, "I don't know how to write a book. How do I write a book?" And everybody kept going, "JoEllen, you have everything you need inside you. You got this." And I was like, "That's great. But like, what steps do I take to write a book? Like, how do I make all of this into a book?" And everybody would be like, "Oh, JoEllen, you'll do great." I was like, "I love that you love me that much. But also, seriously, how do I write a damn book?" Yeah.
But it's a little like that stupid South Park meme where it's like the underpants gnomes are like, "Underwear, ? Profit." And it's like, I had no idea how to get to the profit bit.
Oh man. All right. Well, I just think that I don't know. I'm thankful for people like you who tackle these issues, because I could really never do it myself. And I understand. I think this is one of those issues, whether depression and sex, when you put them together. I think it's one of our biggest probably issues that people don't talk about. And mental health is, I don't. I'm going to set you up here, but mental health is one of those things that we're getting better at it, but we're still lagging as far as support. Little baby steps, dog, baby steps. Progress is slow, bro. But I think we're, as a society, we're taking baby steps because, we got JoEllen here with books and, we're talking about it as men and we're open about it. I don't even know if this conversation could have had even 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So like, or, one of us would feel bad, or I just think that it's one of those utilized conversations. I'll speak for men, that men are getting better. And I think, y'all rail and scream and holler about how bad social media is and woe is you, and it's so shitty, and that's all we hear. But respectfully, y'all, on some level, y'all miss the positivity of social media, which is being able to have a JoEllen on Twitter to bitch to. So, like, she's there. Yeah. She's ready and willing and able to bitch. You just go and just, I'm not saying download all your life, but there are a lot of people out there that are willing to, you could slide in their DMs and talk about things that you could probably never say to anybody else before. So there are positives to social media, y'all. Y'all just don't want to see them. And yes, it's probably overall negative than positive, and I got it. I'm not going to sit here and argue that. We can argue that until Zach wants us to end the damn stream at
4 hours,
2 in the morning. Right. We can literally.
Zach will try to get it to go that long, but yeah.
But JoEllen, I want you to talk to, because it sounds like you came up. I mean, we all did, but it seems like as an author and as a thought provoker in this area, and as somebody that people go to talk to, it seems like you came up on the internet. And can you talk about how the internet affects, can you talk to what I'm saying, which is the positivity of being able to reach out on the internet, and then also please talk about your series, your educational series that you have. And I will put up y'all can go to her link tree at the bottom there. It has everything. Yeah, it has everything that you need to know about JoEllen. I'm pretty sure where she can tell you, but there's like 600 links there. It feels like there's a lot of information. It's great. You can get her book, you can get her classes, but I'm trying to set you up for talking about social media and how that's can be helpful for you to reach out, and also your class.
So I'm gonna admit something that's really embarrassing. I don't know what class you mean.
Oh, don't you have let's see, I have it right here. Navigating Sex and Depression with JoEllen Notte.
Yes, of course, duh.
Yeah.
Thank you. So
you probably don't think of it.
You just needed a refresher. That's all.
Well, and I'm sorry, and I apologize. Class may not be the right word for it. No, it's probably more like a lecture or webinar or something. But I'm sorry. I'll let you. I'll shut up and let you go.
No, honestly, I also have this online like 4-week be a sex blogger class that I do with another blogger, and I was like, is that what we're talking about? That seems weird right now.
Yeah.
Yes, the Navigating Sex and Depression class, which actually I need to find a new home for, I think, because it's been housed by a shop. Yes, it's been housed by Sugar, and I believe Sugar is closing or shifting their ownership or something right now. But that class will exist somewhere. And if you go to my site, redheadbedhead.com/depression, it'll always have all of the depression related stuff like this class. And so this class is really my first book in like how-to form. It goes over some of the ways that the ways depression can show up with sex, the ways it maybe won't show up the ways you expect, and the conversations you can have. And even my favorite thing it has is like workarounds for if you're having sexual side effects, right? So like if you're having anorgasmia or genital numbness, which is a side effect people have, I always recommend people use those big wand massagers, right? If you're having dryness, I recommend all my favorite lubes. I have some toys for penises that don't require an erection to have an orgasm, right? Though that's the type of stuff I get into in that class. So yeah, it's fun. I recorded it for them right after the book came out, so it's all still fresh in my head. There's something else I was supposed to be telling you folks about.
Okay. Well, now Greg helped you get there, so that's great.
I don't remember what the other thing I was supposed to be telling you about right now was.
Just how I'm sorry. How do you what do you feel social media's place as far as this?
Thank
goes?
you.
Yep.
So honestly, I would not have a career, or at least my path would have looked very different without social media. You know, okay, so I had this year where I got divorced and my dad died and everything changed all at once. And like about a year after that happened, I realized I needed to change what I was doing with my life. I was teaching at a gym at the time, and that was not my career plan. So I wanted to find what I was going to do. And one morning in the middle of a workout session, I thought, I want to write about sex because I've always felt overwhelmed about sex. And, you know, I want to learn things and teach people and not judge them. And I got on Twitter, and within a week, I was having Twitter conversations with some of the like biggest names in our field, which is not something that happens in a not social media world. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the foreword of my book was written by a psychotherapist from Toronto named Stephen Biggs. And Stephen also oversaw all of my research because, again, I don't have that academic background. So I wanted to make sure I did everything ethically. We knew each other through Twitter. Like all of those connections. And honestly, even me knowing that people wanted that to be depression and sex to be a topic we talked about is all from social media. So it's benefited me in a lot of ways. I'm at this interesting moment with it because I am not good at Instagram. And that's where the conversation seemed to be shifting to. And I'm way too old to be TikToking. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I want to say the words to you, not like do a dance while I point at them. So, you know.
Listen, if Doug is not too old for TikTok, then you're fine.
Yeah, I'll be clear. I only watch shit on there. I don't do videos in there because I feel like I don't feel I'm too old for. I just don't know that I have anything to say of any importance. Whereas your message actually matters.
I will say my opinions on TikTok also like vary day to day based on how it is benefiting my life. I'm doing a skincare situation that's all told to me by TikTok, so I can't rag on TikTok. I think, like I said, my brain was broken as of like 2021. So really getting on a screen and watching myself and having people watch me is still an idea I'm getting comfortable with.
Doug's been doing this for 3 years and you're already better than him, so you're fine.
It's good. Absolutely.
But you may not be better than Doug at what he's about to do right now.
Oh, what a segue, Greg. Thank you. I'm grabbing a beer from the hometown of your favorite football team.
Oh no.
Saucy Brewworks out of Cleveland, Ohio.
Boothang
Imperial Pumpkin Ale. We haven't had a lot of pumpkin ales on the show.
Boothang. It's that time of year.
Yeah, it is that time of year. So
yeah.
My brother-in-law gave me this one, so we're gonna see how it is.
JoEllen, do you drink beer?
I miss beer, but my doctor told me no more gluten.
Yeah, so we can find your own gluten-free beers.
Yeah, and so when I lived in the Pacific Northwest, there was a brewery called Ghost Fish that had a lovely brew pub that I could bring my dog into. So we would go to Ghost Fish a lot. Every once in a while, because I'm a dark beer girl. So every once in a while, I'll see a porter or a stout, and I'll say, okay, you know what? I'll feel crappy tomorrow, but I'm gonna go in. But
I'm gonna go in. Oh,
yeah. By and large, me and beer kind of broke up a while ago.
Oh, yeah. Doug and I can relate. We've had issues that we had to divorce some of the favorite things that we eat and drink. Doug, what's going on there? What's going on with that one though?
So the great thing about this is the nutmeg and pumpkin in it are just really, 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 really well balanced. But this is an imperial pumpkin ale, so it's 8.5%. So it's a big boy. Yeah. Interesting little can art.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So a very serviceable pumpkin ale. I'm not a huge pumpkin ale person, as you know. I have a few that I like. This is good. This is something that I could have 2 of, and I would be cool with. Most pumpkin ales, I have 1, and I'm done with them. But this is pretty good. Cheers.
Well, look at that. Look at that. And real quick before we move on, I have mine here, Doug, which is
That's
purple.
a little.
Well, it's funny because it's called the fog. So it's funny that it's funny that it's foggy, right? Look at that. But it's a big triple dry hopped double IPA. Look at the juice. You can see the juice emanating from that glass there.
Yeah.
It is. I had it while you and JoEllen were talking, and it's really, really fruity. It's big. Doug, I'm not sure if this is your speed. I'm not even sure if you gave this to me. I have no idea. Okay.
No, wait. What is that from? I think I remember that. Maybe I
The
saw it somewhere.
fog. Yeah, the fog. You know I like these big juicy ass ones, so that's why I credit to you. Packaged and brewed by I can't read this in the dark. North Haven, Connecticut, though.
Maybe I got it. Maybe I got it and gave it to you. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Stone Cold Drink Fresh. Yeah, it's called Cashmere. Walking into the Fog.
Nice.
It's great for this time of year. Spooky time, right? Spooky time. So we are getting some well, I just want to let you know, JoEllen, we're moving into we're almost an hour in. We're moving into our messy section of our stream. So we might get a little messy here for you. Right. It's always a warning for professionals because we're not professionals, at least not at this. And I'm just warning you. But before we get a little messy, I guess this is a little bit messy. We're getting some comments here. I haven't put any of them up about porn. Do you talk to people about that? And does it have a place in all of this?
So I generally do not talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. It's not a thing that comes up a lot for me. I do know. Nice.
Just before the comments come in, you know it's going to be sad. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on.
Now I feel like this conversation is going to be long and hard and throbbing. No.
Right.
Way to run with it.
And probing too. Anyway,
that it can be a really contentious topic for people. And I think it's not a thing I've ever approached in my work, really. I did pull out of a conference once because their theme was sex, drugs, rock and roll. And they were a mental health organization. And I looked at their schedule and it was all me and like sessions on the evils of porn and how everyone has sex addiction. And it was all very like shamey. And there was no like how to work with, or,
this,
if you don't want porn, it was all very like sex is bad. And then there was me being like, here's a giant vibrator you could use to cure your anorgasmia. Like, yeah, it was not great.
There wasn't a connection there.
What
were you gonna say, Doug?
I was gonna say I think that porn's problematic in some ways for sure for some people. I also think that it can be used as a tool, like a sex toy. It's just a different way if you could use it for yourself or with your partner. I don't view it any differently than like a vibrator or a dildo or cock ring or whatever those things. They're all tools and toys for use for pleasure in one way or another. Like most things, if you use it excessively, then that's a problem. Yeah. But I don't. That's just how I view it, and I am by no means an expert. So,
but you, JoEllen, you do believe in people using tools like that to help.
If that was something that like.
Yeah, I'm not talking about porn. I'm really more moving to like vibrators and massagers and things like that.
Yeah. A whole section of The Monster Under the Bed is about what I call workarounds. So, and honestly, actually, porn could fit in there if you're somebody who's struggling to get aroused or to, that might be a tool for you about finding what works for you. But I was telling everybody earlier, about my giant vibrator recommendations, and I have a couple recommendations for strokers that can bring about orgasm without an erection. So if you're struggling with erectile dysfunction, you can still have that orgasmic feeling. I talked to somebody in my interviews about how erectile dysfunction became a big issue for him, and then that made him want to avoid sex, and then he discovered prostate stimulation. And so that became like the new thing that made him feel connected to sexuality. So I feel like there's so many great products these days. I'd say really take advantage of them. Anyways, here's the thing. I feel like my identity as a writer has become that being that person who's like, but that's not true for everybody. If that's not true for you, that's okay. But I want you to know, it's not true for everybody. And if the vibrator doesn't work for you, that's okay. There'll be something else that will.
Yeah. I would also just like to say hey guys, sex toys are your friends. They're your friends.
Yeah, they are.
They help you, and they can help your partner. They can help you. Like, there's an array of things you can try that aren't just, it's not a competition. They're not your competition. And I think too many men have too much machismo to sit there and think that, oh, well, that's a problem. If you're doing that, then you're not going to want me. Well, let me tell you, if you're going to be replaced by a vibrator dildo, then you're not doing what you should be doing to help your partner. I genuinely believe that. So, I don't know.
Yeah, dog. And porn gets that same, real quick, porn gets that same stigma added to it. Like, if you need to watch porn, and why are you watching some beautiful blonde, blah, blah. So anyway, go on, JoEllen.
Yes, I agree. Also, I feel like we shouldn't discount people watching porn together. But what I was thinking in terms of the, like, if you think this toy could replace you, what are you actually doing? A couple weeks ago, I tweeted about, I was thinking about ridiculous reasons I had called off having sex with somebody. Like, I was going to, but then I didn't. And so I turned it into a tweet about how, like, you're always able to change your mind. You can always, like, you don't owe somebody sex because you thought you were going to have it. And I tweeted this list of reasons I have called off sex. And one was he complained about my dog. Another was we were in the car and Baba O'Reilly came on and he went, "Oh, I hate this song," and changed the station. But the third one was that I realized
I love these. I fucking love these. So wait, hold on. You started a thread and then people obviously jumped in and added their own. Okay, go on. I'm sorry. I need to find that thread. Go on. It's amusing.
But the other one was that I realized I'd rather be watching Parks and Rec. Like, we were making out and I was like, oh, I have ice cream. And oh God, once this is done, I'll watch Parks and Rec. And then I realized that if the thing I was most excited about this experience was it being done so I could watch Parks and Rec, that maybe I should not have the sex. And I called it off. And then 10 minutes later, I was on my couch watching Parks and Rec with some Rocky Road. It was great.
This goes to all those ones, those surveys that they say, and I know you've seen them, what would you rather be doing than having, what are, and I look at these things, Doug, and I'm like,
hey, and it's also, remember, those people are getting asked that question at a particular moment in that particular day. That particular moment, they might not be feeling that.
Well,
that's a context.
That is not like, hey, I'm always going to pick this over sex. Like,
Parks and Rec is not always better than sex, but
right. I never saw that shit. I need to see it now.
Yeah, it's great. Jump in at season 3. It gets good at season 3. But
okay.
If you could be replaced, if my experience with you could be happily replaced with Parks and Rec, then maybe we're not having that great of an experience,
Yeah. So, a long time or a little bit ago, I started following this guy. I got to give him props because he's given us so much content. I don't know if y'all have ever followed this guy, Damian Scott, mad scientist. Yes, he follows me and I follow him, but he comes up with all these different things that Doug and I have started talking about, like would you rather, or get rid of, and those things are just fun. And this is a fun part of the internet for me too, because I like to see different people's ideas, and I love when people argue about dumb shit. We have a whole bunch of serious stuff. We got Putin trying to nuke us. We got monkeypox and COVID. We got social issues out the wazoo that we're so different. We got an upcoming election that we literally have crazy people see the lead of this whole thing. We literally have crazy people that might be in Congress. We got charlatans, like, with all due respect, my opinion, Dr. Oz, and all kinds of crazy mess going on. So when people argue over Drake and different things, I absolutely love that shit. So this wasn't really much of an argument, but I wanted to see, JoEllen, you get the question first. Which button would you press, JoEllen? 5 years of clean health, student loan forgiveness, 1 year paid vacation, free utilities, free dream car, or a lifetime supply of tacos?
5 years clean bill of health, no question.
Yeah, I think Doug and I are picking that one too. But Doug?
Yeah, it's that or the 1 year paid vacation, because then I could fucking travel as long as I got paid. Yeah, but that's part of the whole health thing. Is like, I'm healthy now, so now I want to go places, and I was always kind of just, I mean, how it is. You freaking, all right, well, we can't afford that right now. And now I'm way more into the, well, hey, we can't, maybe we have to save up a little, but we can go do it, but the five years clean bill of health. Yeah. I would, yeah. almost dying, kind of maybe put that in my brain a little bit.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. Greg, you and I are the same. You and I are the same mind there. So,
but if that wasn't there, then it would absolutely be 1 year paid vacation, because I believe that would help my health.
Yeah.
100 like for 5 years. So we have one more before we get out of here. Now, this one he posted today, and I didn't even think this was a thing. I didn't know what the hell's going on. So maybe y'all can tell me, because I just don't get it. Is this one? What is the best option out of all these? And I didn't even know that there was a difference. Coke's not my biggest thing. So if you're going to say throw it out, don't answer. But is there a difference in these, first of all? And I know that Mexican Coke has real sugar.
Yeah.
But where are you at, JoEllen? Maybe you're not a soda drinker, but any of these jump off to you? Like, is there a best one out of these?
So in my early 20s, I had a serious Diet Coke habit, and I would buy the little 20-ounce bottle every single day. And so I apparently would prefer the bottle Coke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have
glass Coke. Oh no. I'm sorry, bottle Coke.
Plastic bottle, but small plastic bottle. Not I don't want any 2 liter.
So it's about the size there. Here we go.
Bigger is not always better.
I was gonna say, here we go. Doug, do you understand the nuance of these things? Like, is McDonald's Coke different than fountain Coke?
I don't know, but I know McDonald's Sprite tastes like somebody spiked it with pepper. I don't know what the fuck they're doing with their Sprite, but I don't know what they did with that. But if I was going to do it, it would probably be. Can I pick a seventh option? That'd be rum and Coke.
Okay, yes, but you got to pick one of those Cokes then. Rum and Coke in a McDonald's glass?
No. What I would pick is not even, I would pick the canned Coke, but I'd pick the ones that are the small ones, like the 8 ounces.
Yeah, okay.
And here's why. I can do a tumbler with rum and then just use that whole soda in one thing. So it'd be
rum and Coke.
Although that is not something I have had since my heart attack, because I have no control button with rum. Rum is not my pal. Like, I love the taste of it. I do not have a stop button with rum, so I just stay away from it.
Oh, okay. It's either all or none. Right.
None for me now.
right. No, I feel you. Yeah, I know. For me, it's definitely Mexican Coke. That shit's good, but I think it's because they say Mexican Coke. Y'all can tell me in the comments has real sugar and the other stuff doesn't. I'm not sure, but Coke is just too harsh for me nowadays, and I'm just not into it. But I didn't know JoEllen at all that there was like, and then if you go under his thing and then you see there's a whole lot of comments, and I'm like, wow, this is a thing. I didn't even realize that it was a thing. So, cheers to Coke, I guess, and McDonald's Coke. I don't understand that, but again, maybe y'all can tell me. So yeah, bottle Coke, caffeine free, and diet.
Caffeine free is the way I go. I don't drink caffeinated coffee anymore. Like
Jack and Coke.
Jack and Cokes. I never jacked it. Just give me the crack and rum or the or there was the one was called Blackheart, which was a spice rum by Bacardi. I like the spice rum more.
There is something to that mix of rum and Coke. There's something to that it's just
like
a really good mix.
It's like gin and tonic. It's like that
it's just a really good mix.
That just works.
Yeah, they're almost meant for each other. It's like, and there's no way they were made for each other. But when you put them together, that synergy is better than depression sex, Doug. Or
maybe depends. Hey, I actually have another question that we didn't get to yet. That is
yes,
depression and mental health more. So Greg and I are men of a certain age, but we have kids that are teens, and one of my kids is also 21. But I feel like they have a better handle on their mental health than what we did. Do you agree with that? And how does that manifest itself? Because they're younger, obviously they might be a little more hesitant to talk about their sex lives, but how does that work? Have you seen any of that?
Oh yeah. So I was talking to somebody about doing an event at a college, and I haven't done one in like 5 years, but I noticed that even then, like I always joke that the kids will be all right, or at least better than I was, right? So I don't know. Okay. So in some ways, I feel like my career has become all of the things people said were my weaknesses, right? So my oversensitivity and the fact that I feel bad for abandoned shoes on the street, and like all of that crap. But also, I was 16 and I went to my mom and said, I feel like I need a therapist. And she said, no, you don't. And so I had that impulse to talk about it. And then, 4 years later, when a doctor tried to diagnose me with depression, I had gotten the message that it was not cool, that my parents did not want to talk about that. And so we got mad and left his office. I think that the knowledge that these things exist and are things that we can talk about, and you're not the only person who's ever felt this way, or all of those things are a huge leap forward. Like being in my 20s and living in New York City and thinking that I was the only person who was home being depressed while everybody else was out enjoying the early 2000s nightlife in New York City, that like weighed on me constantly. I thought I was just doing it wrong. I was the only loser doing this. And now you go on Twitter and you find out everybody's doing that. And it makes people not feel like they are alone and broken and the only one who's like this. And I think that's great. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. We're going to, so real quick, there's a comment that you're going to think that's out of context, which is, does JoEllen put on shoes to get to the door? Now, this is in response to last week we talked with our guests about around the house, do you wear socks, wear slippers, wear sneakers, or do you barefoot?
I tend to be barefoot.
Okay. And that's what I'm saying. But some freak of nature, Zach Rosenberg, puts on shoes to answer the door. Now, do you?
No.
Okay, so
now here I will tell you.
Pizza. I'm delivering a pizza to you. You're going barefoot.
Yeah, I am. It's true. It's a bad habit of mine. Okay. But I will tell you the benefit to doing what Zach does. If you put on your shoes and grab a jacket when you go to answer the door, if it's somebody you don't want to deal with, you can be like, oh, I was just on my way out. Right? When I'm barefoot, there's no, like, I'm in for the
night. Don't encourage that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. No, Yeah, we went on a deep dive on that one this week. We don't have to go on a deep dive, but are you a take off your shoes when you go to someone else's house person?
So here's the thing. For a long time, that drove me crazy. Like when I get to people's houses, and especially as we're approaching the holiday season, if you have a
Yes.
shoes off house and you want to have a holiday party, you need to warn people in advance so they don't have on a little black dress and ugly socks because they didn't think anybody would see the socks because they had cute boots on, right? But you got to plan your outfit accordingly. Anyway, then I dated a guy who was very adamant, like, if you are wearing your shoes in the house, you are tracking all sorts of grossness all over your house all the time. And that got me in the habit of taking my shoes off. Mm-hmm. And now I moved back to my childhood home where my stepfather wears shoes around the house, but changes the shoes when he gets in. Like it's like there's the home shoes and the out in the world shoes.
Okay.
And
so he into shoes here. He wears shoes or sneakers.
Yeah,
but they're home. They don't go out though.
No, it's like I know his slippers are downstairs right now and the shoes he went out in earlier. I have no idea what he has on his feet, but I know he stops and changes shoes and my dog loves it. And yeah.
Yep. And how do we all feel about socks?
No. Unless they are intentionally sexy, like the over the knee thing, that's fine. But
yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
But the amount of dudes...
they look great on me, by the way.
I'm good on that.
After I moved away, I moved away from Portland, which was like a funky place, right? And I live in New Jersey now, and I just went through a bunch of my stuff that was in storage, and I got rid of all of my over the knee socks because I was like, I think we should all wear whatever we want at whatever age we're at and whatever, but I do not see over the knee socks fitting into my life as a 40-something-year-old woman in the New York metro area. So it was a little sad, but.
Right. What if I use my sock on then I would call you Flea from the Red Hot
Chili Peppers.
Yes. And Zach takes off his slippers to put on sandals.
Zach, that's a lot of work, Zach. You're making life hard for yourself.
Hey, just go answer with the slippers.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The plot thickens on that one because Zach didn't tell us that.
And honestly, I'll tell you what my depression brain did with that. It went, I would stop answering my door because the amount of work put into footwear shuffling would become overwhelming to me. And I'd be like, fuck it. I don't need to be
yeah. I guess it's the perfect time for this, Doug, right? Where are we at here? Doug loves to dominate this segment of our thing, so we'll get to JoEllen first. JoEllen, we asked you about this, and you have an interesting thing to propose to Doug and I, of course, but also to our commenters. So y'all listen up to the lady. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to start with a very quick explanation that's going to sound traumatic, but just roll with it, accept that it is what it is and don't get stuck on it. 2 weeks before I moved home to live with my family, my mother suddenly died, and that left me living with my stepfather, which was not a situation anyone ever saw coming and has played out kind of like an amazing sitcom. But one of the ways we bond is every night around 8:00, we meet up in our den and we watch a couple episodes of something. And we've gone through we've gone through all of Shameless, and we've gone through a couple of superhero shows. And then we have the things that like he's seen all of, or the things I've seen all of. Basically, where we're at right now is we don't have a current like hour-long show that we're watching, and it's driving us a little crazy. We just started a show called Hacks, which is fantastic, but it is a 30-minute show. And so we're looking for another solid hour-long show. Twitter gave me some recommendations, but I wasn't won over by any of them yet. I don't know. Some of them I'm curious. We'll see.
Okay. Do you have a list of those?
Yes. Hacks was on it. The White Lotus, which was, it won a couple Emmys. I did not know much about it. There's one called The Bear, which takes place in a restaurant in Chicago. Yeah. Okay. Black Sails, which I had never heard of, and I think is pirates. But then another one called Our Flag Means Death, which is also pirates.
That is a supremely queer show.
Okay.
Our Flag Means Death is excellent, and it's superb.
Okay, and what was the other one? Our Flag Means Death. Crap, I lost it. There was another one. Oh, the Neil Gaiman one. Sandman.
The Sandman was great.
Okay.
I don't hear any. Did y'all do some like old school ones? Doug knows I'm still working through the Jeffersons because that is the longest sitcom ever. It's 17 seasons, and I'm still on like 14 or something. And I've lost interest a little bit, but I'm gonna get through it. Not lost interest, but like, is this weird? Binging something that long. Like, I was actually thinking, I'm gonna get through it all, but it's been like 6 months. But any old school ones that y'all got to? Oh, we got Night Court here. Night Court, right?
So
that's an old one.
So I will tell you, there's a definite approach my stepfather has to television, and it's that if we're going to be watching something, it's going to be an hour long, and then we keep a half-hour show on reserve for like when we don't want to stay up for another whole episode. There's a whole system.
Yeah.
But the system is dependent on there being at least 1 hour long show in the rotation.
Right. Yeah. But it sounds like y'all looking for newest shows as opposed to oldest, or do we mix those in?
So, well, because we've hit some walls on like he's already seen all of Empire, and I've already seen all of the Mrs. Maisel show. Like, so we don't want to like make the other one sit through a show that they've already seen all of.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Doug, you watch more of these than I do. Do you have a few for her to suggest for her list?
I have a few, but it depends on what the idea of what you
got to narrow it
watch.
down.
Yeah. So like,
so I gotta tell you, we bounce all over. Like I said, we did Shameless. We do a show called Virgin River, which I gotta say is a little schmaltzy even for me, but my stepfather really likes it. I think my mom liked it, and I think it reminds him of her. But we also we did all of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We did
The Boys.
We haven't done The Boys. Some of the things I've heard about The Boys makes me feel like I'm going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard for me.
It's very graphic.
Yeah.
Like, violently graphic. There is that. So if you're not comfortable with that, do not do that show.
Y'all commenters, give us some here, please. But anyway, I'm sorry, Doug. Go back. Doug's recommendations. Doug, give her like 2 or 3 or something.
All right. Well, Greg, you and I have talked extensively about The Expanse. I think that show it's a sci-fi show on Amazon Prime. It's based on a series of books by dual authors who write collaboratively. But it's the best sci-fi show I've ever watched, and that's saying something because we're talking it's better than Star Trek. It's better than any of those to me. It's superb, and I would say JHG. My wife is a Doctor Who fan. I am not, but I think Eccleston's is interesting, but I think he's very short, and then it goes into Tennant. David Tennant is next, and then there's. Matt Smith and Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker.
Yes. So my marriage, my ex was very Doctor Who oriented, and so I feel like my marriage ended right when Tennant left, and that was kind of when I jumped off Doctor Who because it was like all of those things happened at once.
Yeah. So another one is I just had it in my brain, and now it's fucking exiting my head because we were talking about Doctor Who and we went somewhere. It was because of Tennant, because he was on a show called Broadchurch, which is an hour long. It's a British show.
Yeah.
It's amazingly good. Lots of twists and turns, but like not graphic, but it's a heart tugger. So if you're not good with like the emotional of just holy shit, that turned heavy, maybe not for you. But Broadchurch is one that I don't think I've talked about on the show, but it's super good. Now it's only 3 seasons, so it's not terribly long either. So
Andor.
Yeah, I'm not a Star Wars fan, so it's not my thing.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. One that Doug and I really enjoyed. I enjoyed it so much that I skipped the Super Bowl and didn't. I did watch. I did watch the halftime show.
Yeah.
But the rest of the Super Bowl, I was like, whatever. I don't care. Is Mayor of Easttown on HBO Max?
Oh, that's so
I
good.
was wondering about that one.
Oh,
Okay.
so
Do
good.
it.
So
Yeah,
good.
Do
okay.
it. Do it. Do it.
And Kate Winslet on that is just
Oh,
Phenomenal.
that's Kate Winslet. Oh,
Phenomenal.
yeah. Okay.
Yep. Phenomenal. I started this one, JG. I'm still on episode 2. If you're a Star Trek fan, Star Trek's or if any of y'all you're sci-fi Star Trek New Worlds, that's one season. And then Lower Decks. Multiple people have come on here and talk about Lower Decks. I haven't seen it, but yeah. Why, Greg? Why are you not recommending Sister Wives? Because it sucks, Zach.
yeah, if you want to talk about a super oppressive show, holy shit!
Right. It's good from a standpoint of if you don't know what plural marriage or plural marriage is actually, then it's good for that. Other than that, the guy's a shithead.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it totally at all, not even remotely. And yeah, Lower Decks is great. More than one guest has said Ted Lasso.
Oh yeah, we did Ted Lasso.
Okay, yeah.
I have another one from
Here we
Apple
go.
TV since you mentioned Ted Lasso. Severance.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Severance is really good if you haven't seen that. It has a romantic hookup between John Turturro and Christopher Walken.
Oh, hello.
And I'm going to tell you, it was one of the sweetest things I've ever seen in a TV show.
Daniel agrees with Expanse, and he also says, "Feel free to listen to his podcast. Let's plug it. Watch Okay, Please." Yeah. Where it's a podcast where they try to talk each other into watching TV shows. So right, and then at the end, right. Then they talk about whether, but yeah, it's a pitch for because while we're here, JoEllen, because there's a thing that Doug and I always talk about, and then Doug, we'll get to your recommendations for this week after I blah 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 about this. But while we're here, JoEllen, what is your threshold for and I'm not, whether it be with your stepdad or not, what is your threshold for like how many shows do you give a show before you bail? Or how many shows do you know what I mean? Or how many have you ever like watched a show and been like I did with Expanse. I watched 4 episodes. I was like, oh, this shit's good, but it's just not for me right now. I'll come back. And I still haven't returned. Now there's other ones where I returned literally like the next day and I'm like, this shit sucks. Then I'm like, oh, wait, you didn't give it a try. Go back. And then I'll just like binge that whole thing in like 2 days. And Doug will laugh at me because I'm up to like sunrise watching this bullshit. But anyway, I'm sorry, JoEllen. Do you have a threshold? How do you navigate all this? Because there's so much content out there.
I feel like my threshold is either very, very hie, right? Like I was still watching Heroes in season 4 because season 1 had been so good, and I thought we would get back there, and we just didn't.
It was one season that was good in that show.
I know. I kept waiting, but or it's very low, and we're like 10 minutes in, and I'm like, no, shut this off.
Right. So you're all over the place like me.
Yeah, living with my stepdad's been good for me because I didn't feel comfortable doing that here. So it made me like hang in and watch some things that I would not. We watched this thing about a sheriff in Wyoming that I ended up loving. And yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, before we go to don't watch Caillou because that show does suck. Oh my God.
That kid's an asshole. Anyway.
Yeah. Before we go to my choice, I have one singular recommendation that was only 2 seasons long that I really wish they would have made more of, and it was a show on Netflix called Sense8.
Oh yeah, my boyfriend loved that.
That show was amazing and some of the best non-graphic sex scenes I've ever seen in a show, and it was so inclusive and just amazing to watch. And it was done by one of the Wachowski sisters who used to be the Wachowski brothers, and they're both trans. So one of them made Sense8. And so, and actually one of the characters from Sense8 is a trans female actor who is now the new Pinhead in Hellraiser that just came out in Hulu.
Oh.
So yeah. So anyway, sorry to digress. So my choice, Greg, is the new season of the Great British Baking Show. My wife and I love this fucking show. It is so good. It's so wholesome. It's a palate cleanser from all the fucking
dog shit,
sci-fi and horror I watch.
No, not dog shit, but yeah. Brain-inducing, brain-thinking shows, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I do a
it's
lot.
One
of that.
that you can just
do a lot of cult shows, which I have way too much of that. But
yes, and well, now that you mention it, Doug, we have to talk about, and it'd be nice to see what JoEllen thinks about it. We have to talk about Doug's new project, which is called
The Cult Bar. So my friend Renee and I, who's been a co-host on the show, as we've talked about the past couple of weeks, we're going to do a live stream first Wednesday of every month, starting in November, where we basically we pick a cult and we talk about it for however long it goes, and it's going to be live, so everybody can comment and like we do here, and it's just going to be us talking about cults. And I think the first one we're going to do is something called Sins of Our Mother, which is a 3-episode thing on Netflix. It's only 3 episodes, but it's not fully a cult, but it's cult related because it's related to the LDS Church.
Yeah.
And how this woman and she'd been married 5 times, which is not a ton of shame. Some people, that's how it works for them. But her 5th husband was a fucking apocalyptic lunatic, and they ended up killing and burying their kids in his backyard. It is a ride and a half in 3 episodes. So we're just going to go through that and the cult affiliations with that. So November, I don't know the actual date, but it's the first Wednesday in November. So we're going to do it on here in the Daddy Porter Network. So
2nd, Doug.
November 2nd.
Yep.
JoEllen, what do you think of cult stuff? And are you in on that, or does that kind of something you avoid?
No, actually, I tend to. So I, of course, went through a big true crime phase because I feel like everyone did at some point in the last 5 years. And then I like couldn't handle it anymore. It just felt so awful. But in that, I watched. It was some Netflix series where they did like one episode was about cults and another episode was about. I feel like I'm about to describe a cult again. But they were all these, like, I don't know, weird, scary situations people end up in. And the cult one was so fascinating. I dug out a bunch of other programming about cults. And I learned that my line in the sand with cults is that one in Oregon that took over the entire town.
The Rajneeshis.
And the reason is, it's a weird reason. I tapped out of their documentary. The people who ran it, and I think a lot of cult people are, but they were so manipulative and so publicly, condescendingly, bitchily manipulative that I couldn't handle it.
Initially, I think in that series, they just wanted to kind of have their own thing and do it, and then the people were kind of fighting on it, and that's what made them kind of get just super condescending.
Yeah, it was just all that they were buying up all the buildings. And then they were like, are we not allowed to buy homes too? And I was like, come on, you know what you're doing. It's all very obvious. Stop it.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah. That's one we are going to do in the cult bar, but we debated doing that as the first one, but I think we're going to do this other one because it's a little more recent. But yeah.
There's something about cults and that I haven't engaged, but it's not, I don't, it's kind of about, it's almost a full circle conversation because one of my first questions to JoEllen was, people don't understand, people don't understand the intersection of depression and sex and how it affects everything and how both work together and all that. I haven't figured out what my trigger is and why I haven't fucked with any of these cold things, but there's seriously something there. It's just creepy and weird, and people just behave. Again, one of our good friends, Doug's co-host in this, Renee, she was in a cult, and she's fantastically bright, intelligent,
really brilliant.
Right? She's just a fantastic person to be around, and I'm just like, how did you get it mixed in with a cult? So that's going to be my first. I can't wait to see the first episode. So they talk about that, and I'm just fascinated by that because it's this easy, JoEllen, just be like, oh, they're all dumb. And you know what I mean, and it's not that at all, right? In fact, it's probably the reverse. Now, I believe, as I said last week, that this whole MAGA thing is a cult too, and I just dismiss all of them as dumb. So then it's just easy for me to dismiss it as dumb and move on. I think maybe it's because Doug. I think it's because I dismiss them all as dumb, and then I'm just like, oh, it's just dumb, stupid. Like y'all just dumb. So like I don't need an explanation. but it gets so much more complex and deeper than that when you actually look at them. So maybe I just don't want my worldview of it crushed. Like there's a lot of things I want my worldview tested, JoEllen. I went to college to be an engineer, aerospace engineer. So I love science and I love when people test. I love testing what I think, but maybe not in this area. I think we all have areas where we're like, yeah, test me on it. Let's go. You know what I mean? And then there's other ones like, oh no, I have this figured out. Like, you know what I mean? This Trump motherfucker, he's a motherfucker. So I have it figured out. I don't need to hear your justification of it. So then that's kind of like where I'm at, I think, with cults. But I'm going to enjoy this totally. One last plug before we move on. I'm going to enjoy this totally. Can't wait. November 2nd, Wednesday, November 2nd, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 6 Pacific. Be here, y'all. But we're going to be talking about it, screaming about it until then, and probably after then too. So if you don't like hearing it, click that X over there and bye. But I am excited for my friend Doug and Renee. I'm excited that Doug has another project in his wheelhouse because I enjoy my friend Doug's projects. This one I enjoy actually the least because I have to deal with him every week. But I do love his podcast, and I do love your podcast, Doug, and I do heard every episode of that shit. It's a great road trip podcast. You and Jay do a great job at that. Hope to see that back soon. But also, until then, I have Cult Bar coming up, so it's great. So, JoEllen, we are ending our time here with you. We know that you're up going. You have a vacation coming up, so hopefully that's going to be fun. Yeah. But is there well, you don't have to leave unless you want to, of course, but I just want to make sure before we let you go, I ask this question, which is there anything that Doug and I miss, because Doug and I miss shit all the time. Is there anything that you would like to present to our audience or to everybody about the subject matter that you care about the most? We'll talk about your books in a second before you leave. But is there anything else that we missed or something that you would like to share that that would, that you think will help people or something that we didn't cover?
Yeah, and I feel like there's things that, oh, yes, okay. So here's my big piece of advice that I give everybody always, and it's in both books. It's like the center around which everything is built, right? When you love somebody and they're coping with depression, a lot of times it's tempting to look at it as like you versus them in their depression. But really, I always say you got to get on their team. So it's you and them on one side and the depression on the other, right? So that requires a whole bunch of steps and listening more than you talk and learning some stuff. But I always encourage everybody to stop thinking of the depression as something that comes with the person that has it, and instead is something that pops up in that person, but you can work with and you can help them and they can help you. And it's the two of you together and the depression on the other side.
Gotcha. Doug, you have anything?
No, just super appreciative of you being on, talking to us, and being able to roll with our commenters and understanding that we're, sometimes we're like 12 years old. That's just how we work. And I would love to have you on again once your book comes out next year, and we could discuss that and kind of help promote it there. But again, thanks so much for agreeing to be on. I'm super happy that you're here and we got to talk about this.
Thank you so much. Can I give a plug?
Yeah.
Well, we were going to do all the books, but you plug first, and then we'll see. Yep.
So today, when we announced that the book was available and that the Indiegogo is happening, which that is happening, and it's awesome, and you can get paperbacks and adorable stickers that I made. One of them is my dog, and he's the cutest. I mean, that's all fun. But one of the things that came out with that is we actually made a trailer for this book, like a movie. But so it's this great video. Then it tells you, what the book's about and all that. It features amazing voice talent. Some friends of mine who have a podcast called Mission Rejected. That's an audio drama podcast about like, okay, what if your special agent rejects his mission and you have to send in the B squad? What does that look like? And so they're hilarious and their voices are amazing. And go check out my book trailer at redheadbedhead.com/together. It will be there. And all of the other information will be there too.
Okay, awesome. And your link tree is a good resource for everybody, right? And then we can find out. And then your first book is this one, and this is ready, available right now, anywhere you buy books. But you prefer where?
Bookshop.org. So bookshop.org is they have a huge selection. It's kind of like shopping at Amazon, except the money goes to support local bookstores. And a lot of small indie shops actually have their own like bookshop.org page. And so they get the money when you do it. So that's, it's just a fun way to keep small businesses alive while you shop.
Awesome. And then the second book is this one, not out yet.
Not out yet, but available for pre-order. And if you do it on the Indiegogo, you get the book before it comes out, hopefully 2 months before, but the printers are still recovering from COVID too. So we're playing it by ear.
Yeah. Damn COVID.
Yeah.
And then, so then you're barefoot.
I'm barefoot.
Okay. Well, I think we covered everything, JoEllen. Sorry. If you look at if y'all interested in more JoEllen, go to her Indiegogo, and then she has one of the links here to this page where she's been on a plethora of different podcasts. Sure. So you could go on a big old JoEllen deep dive this weekend, tonight. There's a whole bunch of different things there, especially the one with Dan Savage. I saw that. I saw it too late today to get to it, but I'm going to jump on that one for sure this weekend because that's fascinating to me. But we just want to thank you and give you the last word. You have a great weekend. Doug, the last two guests of ours have been on our stream and then went and did something. Last week they went sailing. And,
our last guest was like,
right.
hey, we're going sailing tomorrow. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fucking awesome.
Right.
So,
and I'll be sitting around my house in Wisconsin being all cold.
Yeah, I'll be wrapping up our garden in our backyard all day tomorrow.
Well, earlier when you were talking about the 1 year paid vacation or that whole thing, it made me think about a big regret I have of the last decade was I didn't go on a vacation at all for 10 years. And now all I have is burnout and regret that I didn't vacation with my mother while she was here. And so now I'm trying to get the trips in, even if they're little, even if they're quick.
Yes. Not
the size that matters, right?
Exactly.
Right.
All
right. All right, JoEllen, thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll talk to you next year sometime. We're going to get you back.
All right. Take care. Right. Enjoy your trip.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye. All right.
Hold on, Doug.
I have a third beer when we're ready. No, go ahead.
Let's do. This is what I wanted to show last week. She's a badass. I would never, ever do that in a million years. I wouldn't do it with your arm, Doug. I wouldn't do it with my worst enemy's arm. I wouldn't do it with my best friend's arm. I wouldn't do it.
What are you doing to it with Zach's arm?
I wouldn't. Opossums, man. You see the chops on this thing, Doug? You see the? Yep. No, when it's hissing and. You ever see one of those in your backyard?
Yeah. Yeah, they're all over here. I will say I like that she picked it up like you pick up a cat, like you pick it up
right,
so they don't move, and it paralyzes them.
Right. But no, there's no way I would even approach it to. Oh, Doug, Zach, that's for us only to know.
That is not for you to know, sir.
Right. So let's not even try it. Doug has a third beer though.
Yeah, and I wanted to have this, but I didn't want to interrupt our guest because that was fucking great. But I pulled one of the beers from Giant Jones.
Oh,
yay! The
Grand
Porter.
Porter.
Yeah, man. 8.7.
I know it's blasphemy. Y'all gonna probably come at me in the comments, but it's probably one of my least favorite from Giant Jones. Okay.
Which is, I mean, you're not going to like every beer. I still think the best thing that happened was a burnt ale. The burnt ale was like, ooh.
No, don't get me wrong. I love the beer. It's just not my it's just not one of my favorites. In fact, I got to submit somebody wanted me to submit a flight of my favorite best Madison beers, Doug. And there's a Giant Jones on there, but I don't
Madison beers?
Yeah, I was on Brewery Travelers podcast with Chris Drosner, the beer baron.
Okay.
Anyway, he wants us to send him now our favorite, 4-piece flight of different, from around this area. So there is one Giant Jones that I picked, but it's definitely not the Grand Porter. But I love the Grand Porter. What do you got?
So this is a pretty good porter, really roasty, like really roast.
You can't taste the ABV.
No, you can't. It tastes like an English style porter, like that low, almost like a bitter, not quite a bitter, but you know what I mean. Like it's so roasty. Right. Yep, so it doesn't taste high ABV, and it's fucking damn near 9. So
that's a damn good beer. I'm just saying it's one of my least favorite of that whole line.
So you're not at liberty to tell us what you picked for the.
Why not? Why not?
What'd you pick from Giant Jones?
Do you maybe want to take a guess, or because it's one that you had and it's one that you love, it's a style that you love?
I'm going to say that it is the double stout.
No, it's the triple.
The triple is so good though. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and they're American Strong too, but they don't. They have the triple on more than the American Strong. So I wanted to have something that, like, if somebody actually sees it, they can be like, "Oh, I'll get the triple because she has it." It's one of the ones that you see the most, even though a lot of things go in and out there. But the Grand Porter is just. Speaking of, I don't know. I haven't seen what's going on over there.
It really, really doesn't taste the ABV at all.
No.
That and if you like roasty porters, you could drink the shit out of this and then be like, "Fuck."
Right, and maybe one or two on a Saturday afternoon, and you'll be feeling good for dinner.
Yeah, but I'm only having one, and I'm good after having it. Well, I had one low ABV, and the other one was not. But I've been spacing them out pretty good. But this.
Yeah, after 3 of those in an afternoon, you're going to be ordering out, not cooking. So.
Which is problematic because I cook all the time now.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Right. But yeah, cheers to that. I'm only gonna have 2 tonight, but I got this big juicy double IPA. And
did you even tell us what you thought of it? You just poured it, and then I don't think you told us what you thought of the taste.
No, I said it was big, juicy. Smell all kinds of citrus and mangoes and all kinds of wonderful. But look how thick that is.
Yeah, but I'd want to try it. Like you say, maybe it's not your speed. But
you would try it
with all the fruitiness. I'd really want to try that. The only thing the only thing that would be worrying me is the triple hop on that. That would be a little bit worrying me on that. But
yeah, but as you know, the triple dry hopping. Sometimes it does add hop bitterness to it, but it's really more of mostly a smell thing. But yeah, it smells wonderful and beautiful. So yeah, Doug. So next week, y'all, we have I haven't spoken to them in a while. We will have Liquid Intrusion Brewing Company, and the reason I say Liquid Intrusion Brewing Company is because they are a married couple who equally do everything, and they're both going to be here. So it's kind of going to be like when we have the Pressberries on, and we got them both on because they're equally
Pressberries,
equally devastating in their horrible food takes.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I
God,
said it.
their food takes are terrible. Well,
Right.
well, let's just be clear. One's food takes are very terrible, and I'm not going to say
Oh,
who.
oh yeah, you better not, because they might come for you.
They can
And
come.
nobody wants that. Nobody wants,
Oh, and hey,
nobody
we,
wants
we, we
Callie coming for you.
yeah. I also want to make mention that we are in 2 weeks going to have the return of the robed one. Manny is coming on in 2 weeks. Y'all strap in because when Manny comes on, it's gonna be showing.
Right before Halloween too. So
Oh,
yeah, Manny, and I don't know how he's going to one up his last appearance.
because that was something. That was
That was one of the best appearances ever. Yeah, Manny in 2 weeks. Liquid Intrusion next week. Somebody
hey
dubbed for Halloween.
guys, don't sleep on Liquid Intrusion because
Oh,
Jasmine
Drew and Jasmine.
Drew and Jasmine are
Yeah.
fucking awesome. They make great goddamn beer. They are funny as fuck.
And
They're gonna be great.
Jasmine, again, Jasmine's just not the tag along lady helping her
she's
man.
all in it.
If anything, it's Drew tagging along on Jasmine. If it was weighted anyway, it's absolutely weighted towards Jasmine. She knows her shit. She's the one who perfected, from what I know, but we'll get to the bottom of it, that Queen IPA. Shit, I gotta order that. I gotta order that tonight. You can order. Yeah, you can order. Yeah. I'll send it to you.
Please do.
You have to buy stickers, and stickers. Well, and stickers include a 4-pack.
So you're buying it stickers for a price.
That's
and
how,
you get the
right, and that's how Mac is doing it too. And then the 4-pack is included, but you're not buying the 4-pack. You're buying stickers.
Okay, that is weirdly in New York State where I am. That is how you buy weed. The place near us, we don't have a dispensary near us. We have to buy stickers, and then you take those stickers fucking 10 feet from where you fucking buy the stickers, and they give you the weed in exchange. It's a funny way to get around the system because New York State is supposed to be super fucking progressive.
I was gonna say
we are not.
What happened to the super liberals running the whole state? And
it doesn't.
There's more to the state than New York City. All that bullshit. Apparently none of that's true.
Daniel's comment. Let's post that because
I was gonna get to it, but I wanted to mock New York State a little bit more.
You should because
the state that gave us the Cuomos. Oh.
Yeah, and by the way, New York State, Daniel is right. New York State is not all progressive.
Well,
in fact, huge chunks of it is fucking rural and Trump.
Well, with all due respect, y'all go around saying that all the time, but y'all know different than any other place in America. Like, again, Pennsylvania leans a little bit to the left, but outside of Pittsburgh and Philly, it's fucking crazy Trump land. Madison, Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Outside of that, it's crazy Trump land. Minneapolis. Outside of that, it's crazy Trump land.
As somebody said before, that I don't know who said it. Pennsylvania is Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and in the middle is Alabama, and that is that is accurate as you can get it. And my parents live in the middle of Pennsylvania, so
Pennsyltucky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. So anyway, Doug, let's wrap this little baby up. We have a quick. Where the hell is this? I'm so bad. I have good segues, but not good segues. Doug, you probably just opened your favorite beer, but I'll let you decide.
Yes, you would be correct. All of my beers were very good tonight.
Giant Jones is just hard to beat, Doug.
So I'm going to say that the Blanche Chamberlain was just very slightly better than the Boo thing. The Boo thing was really good as an Imperial Pumpkin. and pumpkin beers aren't really my thing, but the Chambly is just that. This is just slightly better. But the Giant Jones one is the fucking best thing because it's fucking Giant Jones, and that porter is so roasty. Does not drink at all the ABV it's at. Like that is that when you can brew something that doesn't taste like the ABV it's at, and it's a really high ABV, that's a fucking accomplishment. So kudos to them as always. Jessica Jones, Erica, fucking kudos to you.
Mari and I forget the other lady that works there.
Mari.
I've only met her once, but they're a 4-woman crew, still kicking ass. One of the best breweries in Madison. That's just my opinion, but I'm still right. I don't care what y'all say. Anyway, let's see. Okay, so Virginia, outside of Richmond and Metro, right? California. Money anywhere without money. Right. California is dope. It gets to me. California is dope. I don't care what y'all say. And y'all say a lot about California, but California is dope. It's the 6th largest economy in the world. It's just so vast. It's so beautiful.
It's fucking enormous.
It's enormous. It has a lot of culture. Yes, the traffic sucks. Yes. They don't get enough rain.
It only sucks in certain parts. Let's be very clear with California. Right. There's certain parts. Like LA is a fucking clusterfuck.
Well, you can't say that on a sex show that it only sucks in certain parts, Doug. So, just so you know. Look, I see you're a cunning linguist. See, the jokes are not going to end, Doug, until we click end broadcast.
That's okay. But this is why we love our folks, because it's always a good fucking time, and no matter who we bring on, you guys always bring good comments and questions, and we kind of poke fun at you guys, but you poke fun at us, and that's part of the fun of what we do. And thank you guys for all being here.
This is not the place to take yourself seriously, so I think everybody knows that walking in the door. We take our guests seriously because they should be. Other than that. I refuse to take you seriously on the stream, Doug, just so you know. Zach, we have to preserve your record. You're the longest tenured, longest.
That means he's going to try to extend the record the next time he's on the show. So let's not encourage him.
And we got Manny coming up, so we might test it with Manny. Right. We don't know.
Manny, you better bring your big boy pants because it's gonna be a show and a half. So,
I'm about to. I think if the servers let us in,
but that server's been shit.
Yeah, but Zach, they play on PC and I play on PS4, so we can't cross connect for some reason now. So I don't actually play with them, but I play aside of them. It's the game. It's right there. It's the only game I actually play now, man. I try to go back to GT5, and I'm just lost in there now. I don't know any of the adversary things to do, and I'm just kind of lost in there. So I got back in there, and I was like, this ain't for me. I'm waiting for the new one. So yeah. It's like hanging out and shooting the shit. That's the whole point, JHG. You already know. That's what we do. That's why I started. That's why it continues. And that's why we're not ending at any point soon, as far as I know, unless something abrupt happens. Wait, did you guys say record? I got some new records.
Of course you do.
Zach, I keep saying it, but I need to reach out to you, or you reach out to me. You should be part of Lag Libations and Lost Saves. We should have you on.
Yeah.
Talk about your video music and
classic
games. Classic games. Yes, go put some records on, Zach Rosenberg. Right.
Go do it, man. Put your records on.
You're all right. All right, Doug. Well, I guess it's time to get out of here. What are you doing this weekend? Anything cool?
Like I said, working in my yard. It's a thrilling weekend coming here in the Ziegler household.
That's cool. I mean, that's, it's either that or running your kids around all of humanity upstate New York. So it's either one or the other, right? Or both, right? No, man, it's cool, man. That's at least you get to spend time with them. I know that's a subject that you mitigate as they get older. Is the time that you spend with them. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's overall a joy for you to be able to help them get to where they need to get to do the things that they do. So
Yep.
cheers to you, Father. Cheers.
Cheers to you,
Cheers to
sir.
fatherhood. Yeah. All right, y'all. I think it's time for us to
Call
yeah,
it.
Doug, wait, Doug, you're here to
I do raised bed gardening, so I don't have to plow shit. So no.
Right, and we're gonna run out of here. We're gonna run out of here and see how many comments y'all can get in while the thank you thing runs.
Yeah, thank you, folks. Love you guys. Take care.
See you next week with Liquid Intrusion. It's gonna be fun. Oh, I don't even have.
May the liquid prevail.
May the liquid prevail, and may the liquid this week flow the way y'all want it to flow. Better than this ending is flowing because I forgot to fucking load the damn thing, Doug. So now we're going to vamp until then. No more umming. We're done. Bye.